Their assassination sparked a world war, but what came of the children they left behind? Franz Ferdinand, heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne, was gunned down in Sarajevo in 1914 alongside his beloved wife Sophie. Their deaths sent shockwaves through Europe, their children often forgotten in the shadow of what followed. For those who remember, they carried the sad name, the first orphans of the World War, and this is their story. Franz Ferdinand and Sophie began their relationship around 1894, although the exact year is unknown. Although Sophie was born into the noble family Chotek von Bognin, her family was not deemed of a dynastic rank. This meant that Franz Ferdinand would not be allowed to marry her, and that Sophie could never have become Empress consort. In 1899, after years of pressure, the couple was finally granted the right to marry. However, this decision did not come without restrictions. Franz Ferdinand had to agree to the following terms. The marriage would be deemed morganatic. As such, Sophie would never bear the title of Empress, Queen, or Archduchess. Franz Ferdinand was allowed to keep his place in the line of succession, but any offspring from their marriage were banned from inheriting the throne and did not hold any dynastic rights. The Archduke agreed to the terms on June 28, 1900. The wedding of Franz Ferdinand and Sophie took place only 3 days later. The only members of the imperial family were Franz Ferdinand's stepmother and his 2 half-sisters. Sophie was granted the title Princess of Hohenberg, although this title would later be elevated to Duchess of Hohenberg. Franz Ferdinand's and Sophie's first child was born on July 24, 1901. The girl was named Sophie in honor of her mother. The couple's first son was born a little over a year later on September 29, 1902, and was named Maximilian. A second son named Ernst followed on May 17, 1904. Sophie got pregnant again in 1908. Unfortunately, the baby was stillborn in November of that year. All children bore the name and title of their mother, of Hohenberg. As the couple's children were excluded from the line of succession and did not inherit any dynastic rights, the family was able to enjoy a quiet family life. Franz Ferdinand envisaged a normal life for his children. He wished for them to live anonymously and especially for his daughter Sophie to marry someone out of love rather than dynasty. He was a strict but never harsh father to his children. Sophie, Maximilian, and Ernst were raised knowing they were nothing special, as one of them would later state. The 2 main residences of the family were Castle Belvedere in Vienna and Castle Konopist, which is today located in Czechia. June 28, 1914 would be the day that would change not only the family life but also history's path forever. While visiting Sarajevo, Franz Ferdinand and Sophie were shot by 2 bullets. Within an hour of the assassination, both were dead. Today, the assassination of Franz Ferdinand and Sophie counts to one of the last major events in a long list of incidents leading directly to the First World War. But what often gets forgotten is that Franz Ferdinand and Sophie were parents to 3 children, who with 2 shots were orphaned. So what actually happened to them after they lost their parents? The 3 orphans were immediately taken into the care of their maternal aunt Henriette, and their uncle Prince Yaroslav was made their guardian. Emperor Franz Joseph granted the children Castle Archstetten, their childhood home Castle Konopice, Castle Klumnitz, and Castle Greifenberg. After the death of the emperor, the children further inherited 50,000 acres of land. However, a part of their inheritance was confiscated by Czechoslovakia towards the end of the First World War. Sophie was the first of the siblings to marry. She wed Count Friedrich von Nostitz-Rieneck on September 8, 1920. Together they lived in Czechoslovakia and had 4 children together, 3 sons and 1 daughter. Their daughter, also named Sophie, actually only passed away 1 year ago. Following the Anschluss in 1938, Sophie was thought to be living in Great Britain and was put on the Black Book list by the Reichssecurity main office. The Black Book list, also known as the Sonderfahndungsliste GB, was a list of British residents that would have gotten arrested if Nazi Germany ever invaded Great Britain. One of Sophie's sons died while in action during the Second World War. By the end of the war, the family had lost all of their property and were expelled from Czechoslovakia. They then settled in Austria. Sophie's husband Friedrich died in 1973. She continued to live a quiet life surrounded by her surviving children and grandchildren. She passed away in 1990 at the age of 89. Next, let us look at Maximilian's life. Maximilian and his brother Ernst were expelled to Austria in 1919, where they lived in Vienna and at Arstetten Castle. Maximilian gained his law degree in 1926 and afterwards worked as a lawyer. That same year, he married Countess Maria Elisabeth Bona, with whom he had 6 sons. Maximilian became the leader of the legitimist party called Eiserne Ring, and therefore supported his close relative Otto von Habsburg. Following the Anschluss, Maximilian and his brother Ernst were arrested and deported to Dachau concentration camp. There, they were responsible for cleaning the latrines. Maximilian was released after 6 months after his wife pleaded with Hermann Göring. The remaining family properties were expropriated, and he was compelled to stay at Arstetten Castle. After the Second World War, Maximilian was elected mayor of Arstetten, a post which he held for 10 years. During the same time, Maximilian worked with Otto von Habsburg during the negotiations to regain the Habsburg properties from the state of Austria. Maximilian died on January 8, 1962, as a result of his treatment during his internment at Dachau. Lastly, let us glimpse into the life of the youngest sibling, Ernst. Ernst studied forestry in Austria and, like his brother, joined the legitimist movement. He publicly spoke out for the restoration of the monarchy and supported his close relative Otto von Habsburg. During the early years of the 1930s, Ernst joined the Heimwehr, a paramilitary organization in Austria. On May 25, 1936, Ernst married Maria Therese Wood, with whom he would have 2 sons. Because of his engagements within the monarchist circles, Ernst, like his brother Maximilian, was sent to Dachau concentration camp in 1938. The 2 brothers and their sister in addition lost all of their land in Austria and Nazi Germany. This would to this day be one of the largest expropriations in Austrian history. With the help of Minister Peter Krauland, the siblings would regain their property in 1945. Ernst was transferred to a different concentration camp and would remain detained until 1943. Ernst died in 1954 at the age of only 49. Just like in his brother's case, it is supposed that his early death is related to mistreatments during his detainment.